Okay, so today we're going to talk about actually mounting a beaded strip onto a heavier gauge leather for like a belt. We've already done our decoration here on our spots. This is a finishing detail that we put on. I did a different video on how to attach those. And the way I do them requires a hammer, so I don't want to hammer anything with this beadwork on it because these are glass beads. I don't want to have any opportunity to crush them. So that's all been done before we've even attached the beadwork. In this particular case, this is somebody else's beadwork, and so I'm putting it on a belt for a friend, and at this point I'm about halfway done, and so I'll kind of show you what we're doing here. First things first, materials you're going to need is just some hand quilting cotton, and in a general sense, sewing thread is going to be real thin. It's more likely to tear apart, so you want a heavier hand quilting cotton thread that's going to give you something that's real durable. A Glover's needle is going to help you out. This is harness leather, so you want something that's got a real sharp point here. That's going to make it easy just in case your holes don't work out. I'll show you that in a second. But a Glover's needle is going to be nice. And then, of course, lots of wax for your thread. That'll help condition the thread, make it smoother, make it less likely to tangle. So let's talk about the holes real quick. We've got our beadwork strip. We've already measured out the length of the strap leather that we needed. We've got the width figured out, how we wanted it. We calculated for our decorative edge, everything else there. And what we're going to do here is we've already figured our strap leather. We've already laid this out so that we've marked where it's going to lay. Now, there is a pre-punched holes here that we're going to work off of. You can get this done once you've made your measurements and once you've laid down your line. You can get this done at a saddle shop or someplace that does work with harness leather, shoe shops, shoe repair places. But they have the heavy industrial sewing machines, and that's what you're going to want to use if you have a choice. So take it down, show them where your markings are, have them run a line. I mean, take the needle out of the thread, and all it does is it just pre-punches your holes for you. And then you can hand sew in without any real problems. If you don't have that option, you can use it on your own sewing machine if it's strong enough. You just need a good leather needle. If not, you can also just use a Dremel drill with a real fine point, real fine bit on it, and then you can just do it that way. But we've lined this out, and we've put a whole series of holes, and then we've got the finishing edge here. You'll notice there's not a series here because I leave this empty. This is the top of the belt when it's worn. This is the bottom. Gravity basically takes care of that. It's not going to be sliding around down here if it's stitched on the other three sides. So this is just more work and more opportunity for it to get torn apart. So I don't do this edge. This is also done just inside the beadwork, if you can see this. A lot of people will do the holes right on the very edge and then basically whip down this edge. This particular set of beadwork was done with thinner threads going this way. I use a real heavy cotton crochet, just a crochet thread. This was done with something thinner. So this is an edge that catches a lot of wear, so I went ahead and just moved it inside where it's going to be a little bit better supported. So just a couple rows in is what I did for this one, and the same thing's true on the ends. On the end down here, it's come in a little bit, so that I'll be catching not the very edge, but a little bit inside here, because the beadworker here did something where they actually worked the edges into this. If I put the stitches on this edge, it'll pull itself out if I'm not careful, because this is going to get a lot of wear down here when it's worn. So again, our holes are already punched. We've got our thread, we've got our needle, we've got everything already done. All you're going to do is you're going to tie yourself a nice thick knot at the end. If you need a knot, look up like a figure-8 knot or a barrel knot or a surgeon's knot or something like that. But your thread's doubled over. That way you have two threads going through everything. And you got your big knot here. It's not going to get pulled through the leather. You're going to go through. You're going to come the other side. Not before you even have the beadwork on, you're going to come up the next hole and then come back through the same hole. That way you've locked it in with the knot before you even laid the beadwork on. Now, when you're coming up with the beadwork, you're going to lay it back on where you want it. nice and centered, and then when you come up, you're going to come up where you need it to. And what I do on this one, I came up, and then there's one row about 3 in that I've kind of picked as where I want nice and even, and I'll just go back, I'll come up and then over that one back through the exact same hole. Then I take a step over, up through that hole, back over, down through the same hole, and I just step all the way down doing that. So essentially all you're doing is up and down, over, up and down, and over, up and down and over, and you keep that up all the way until you get to the very end. Here you've stepped up and now you come across, and in this final step here, what you've done is you've kind of taken a bite in and you're going to come across. I did it twice to reinforce this edge, so really my line's running here and just under it here. Again, I didn't want it on the very edge because this is going to pull out. This is going to get a lot of wear when it's actually worn, because you have to remember a flat strip, when it gets put up like this, when it's worn around like a belt, it's going to get tugged on. It's going to get a lot of wear there. So that's why I went ahead and reinforced it like that. And in this particular case, when I get it all set out, something that you need to remember is that this is worn around, so you can't stitch it flat. If you stitch it flat and then you try to wear it, it's going to bind up and it's going to pull, and it's going to be really awkward, kind of how it's going to go. So when you stitch, you want to have it kind of stitched around like this. So don't lay it flat, just keep it going, because that will help give it some motion. To keep it in mind, this loose end here was originally measured out here. If I pin it and then try to wear it, do you see how it buckles up like that? That's going to be what happens no matter whether there's stitching there or not. That's going to tear up your beadwork over time. That's not what you want. So if I step up from the middle out, it's going to help me when I start having this move in from that pulling going this way. So now this edge is going to come in a little bit just from the natural pull of having to meet these turns. So that's going to be how that handles itself. Again, you want to start at the middle and work your way out to the edges because of that. And again, just make sure that when you're working on a turn. It doesn't have to be a real extreme one, because you don't want it to lay out and get a real bad pucker. It's going to have some, because when it's flat it's going to bunch now, but you want it to bunch here rather than pull here, and that's what you're looking for. So I think that should do it. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.